Good evening and welcome to historical and colonial Georgetown here on the island of Penang, just off the coast of Peninsular Malaysia. Penang's actually a state here in Malaysia. Obviously it consists of the island of Penang, where Georgetown's its capital, and also across the causeway, only around 8 kilometres away on the mainland, you also got the city of Seberang Perai. So yeah, very interesting place here, Penang. On the island itself, you've got the very interesting sort of colonial sort of mix of British and sort of Chinese, obviously sort of Malay influences as well. Real melting pot of culture and great food scene and everything like that in Georgetown. A little bit like Singapore in some aspects. Really amazing culture here in Georgetown. Then obviously on the other side of the island, you've got the beautiful beach resort areas and that sort of stuff as well, which were really popular, especially in times gone by. But anyway, we've had an amazing week or so here in Malaysia. Very much been a whirlwind trip, to be honest. We've had a couple nights in KL, we've gone up to Langkawi, and we've finished here in Penang. Just, yeah, a whirlwind visit on the way back from our 2 weeks amazing trip in Sri Lanka. Anyway, the travel's not all over yet. First thing tomorrow morning at the crack of dawn, we're going to be heading up to the Big Smoke. We're actually flying up to Bangkok, direct from here in Penang. We're flying the Thai Airways regional subsidiary called Thai Smile. Flying on an Airbus A320, it's going to be about an hour and a half flight. For your information, Thai Smile is essentially the regional subsidiary of Thai Airways International. They're kind of like the Silk Air was to Singapore Airlines before they were subsumed by their parent company. I believe the same thing's going to happen with Thai Smile later this year or possibly next year. It's just going to be merged in with Thai Airways proper. So yeah, I believe it is a full service experience, Thai Smile. Definitely have paid a little bit above the average in terms of price for this flight. Definitely compared to AirAsia and some of the other competitors on the route. So yeah, really hoping and expecting a really comfortable and pleasant experience tomorrow, considering it is quite a lot more expensive Thai Smile. But anyway, without further ado, let's skip forward to first thing tomorrow morning, head out to the Penang Airport, get checked in, and yeah, come enjoy and experience our Thai Smile flight up to Bangkok tomorrow morning. Before we head to the airport early this rainy Sunday morning, just a little bit of flight information about today's flight up to Bangkok. That's a gazetted flight time of around 1 hour and 45 minutes, or just shy of 1,000 kilometres in terms of Great Circle distance. So yeah, we're going to be taking off out from Penang over the northern extremities of Malaysia, pass through some of the southern provinces of Thailand before we enter the Gulf of Thailand, reuniting with the Thai coastline again just west of Pattaya City before we reach the capital, Bangkok. So welcome to Penang International Airport. It's bright and early. It's about 5 AM on a Sunday morning. Was a little bit worried about how I'd get to the airport. You'll find it's located approximately 17 kilometres away from Georgetown on the southeastern tip of the island, or around about a half an hour journey even at this early time of morning. So yeah, I was a little bit worried about the availability of getting a grab at this time of morning, but yeah, my grab came within a couple minutes of ordering, and yeah, amazingly it only cost 17 Malaysian ringgit, or about $5.50 Australian. Yeah, so I just can't believe how reliable and affordable Grab, which is the local equivalent to Uber, is here in Malaysia. For your information, before we head to check-in, Penang International Airport is currently the third busiest airport in the whole of Malaysia. Immediately prior to the pandemic, annual passenger traffic peaked at around 8.3 million yearly passengers, and yeah, it's thoroughly connected to the rest of Malaysia with a very extensive range of domestic flights. There's also a fairly strong range of flights also around to the usual major cities of Southeast Asia, such as Bangkok that we're flying to today, and also Singapore, Jakarta, Ho Chi Minh City, Taipei, and I think you can also, starting in February, fly all the way as far as Dubai with Fly Dubai. As I arrive at the Thai Smile check-in counters here at Penang International Airport, can't help but be a little bit worried at the sight I see, because it's already within the 3-hour check-in window as advised for international flights for Thai Smile, and the check-in counters ain't even attended. So first things first, I'm not very impressed that they advised check-in opened 3 hours before and no one's there. If it was 2 hours or something like that, I would have gladly enjoyed a bit of an extra sleep in. So now I'm at the airport really early, no one's at the check-in counter, and I have got no idea when someone's going to rock up. After waiting around a considerable time with no check-in staff in sight, nor any notification, text, phone call, no nothing from the airline advising of any delays, the check-in staff finally do casually rock up, slapping a very hastily written notice, putting it on the desk advising that the flight was delayed due to a late arriving flight from Bangkok. Once I was able to finally check in about an hour after first arriving at the airport, I can report that check-in for Thai Smile is very much the old-fashioned way here in Penang with manned check-in counters. Check-in itself was a pretty straightforward process. The check-in staff did have to, however, see evidence of my onward ticket from Bangkok out of Thailand, but that was no big deal. But yeah, it was pretty easy, but yeah, I didn't find the check-in staff overly friendly or receptive, especially at this time of morning, to be honest. They didn't really do anything to even know about the delay or give any real proper reasoning behind it either, so that was a little bit disappointing. On the upside, immigration and security is a much more pleasant experience this morning, only taking about 10 minutes to get through both. So yeah, definitely very quick to get out of Malaysia compared to the time it took immigration in KL when I first arrived in Malaysia. Just going back to the whole check-in process and the lack of communication with Thai Smile for this morning's flight, it's been really disappointing, to be honest. I understand that flights can be delayed. I totally understand that. I'm all for safety. I'd rather arrive safe and sound and endure a delay. It's no huge deal to me. However, just a bit of communication is all I really expect when airlines do have delays. And Thai Smile, as you'll see here, the plane's already here. So I'm really confused this morning. It supposedly is a late arriving aircraft, yet it's already here at the gate. So my initial theory is that the plane must have arrived yesterday or yesterday evening, but yeah, it must be something to do with crew hours or something, needing to get more rest or something like that. So yeah, I totally understand the logic behind it, but they haven't really given the correct reasoning behind the delay. As I'll later find out, this is certainly not a spontaneous delay that's just popped up first thing this morning. The plane has been here overnight. So yeah, it's really poor from Thai Smile that they haven't got out a text or an advisory last night when they knew of this issue. So yeah, if they just sent out a text last night or an email saying that the plane is going to be 2 hours delayed in departure, I would have thought, fine, I'd get an extra sleep in, don't have to get to the airport so early, and I would have less time to wait around before checking in Bangkok. So it would have worked, absolutely would have worked fine for me. Just a bit of communication, so your customers don't have to come to the airport needlessly early. So in a nutshell, I've literally arrived at the airport 5 hours before my flight. Luckily, I've got access to the Plaza Premium Lounge here. I really feel sorry for other customers who might be here 4 or 5 hours early with no lounge access, because there's very few things open at this time of morning. As always, Priority Pass has got me into the Plaza Premium Lounge game today here at Penang. Really decent Plaza Premium Lounge, this one here in Penang. Overall, find the brand of Plaza Premium Lounges, they're very solid, consistent offering. They're very common here throughout Asian airports. Increasingly, you'll also find them in Australia and elsewhere around the world. So yeah, really good spread of buffet breakfast on offer this morning. Plenty of good local Malaysian food as well. Kwai To goes down well at any time of day or night, even at such an early hour. Certainly a comfortable range of seating options here at the Plaza Premium. Like most Plaza Premiums, you've got a good variety of sort of dining tables and more booth style seating. There is also a bar as well. It's really just complimentary beer, I believe, although you can, however, buy more premium alcoholic beverages on request. It is a bit more discreet here in Malaysia, so you do need to ask the member of the staff if you'd like a alcoholic beverage. I couldn't speak more highly of the Plaza Premium staff here today. Really hospitable and really understanding of all the confusion and uncertainty about this flight delay this morning. They probably seem to know more about what was going on than the airline themselves. The staff even hypothesised that there was probably a miscommunication between the check-in staff and operations staff, not communicating properly to each other as to the real cause of the delay. I certainly tend to agree with them on that. It was all over the place. It was really nerve-wracking in the lounge because it kept saying that the flight was boarding around about the original time of departure, even though it clearly was not. So the flight boards were saying one thing, the airport website was saying another, Flight Radar 24 did even have the plane on. Yeah, so it was just utter confusion. I was actually thinking at some point the plane would leave on the original time. So yeah, I had no idea when this plane was going to actually. So yeah, the Plaza Premium was an absolute godsend this morning. Would have hated being another passenger without being able to go to the lounge, literally spending 4 or 5 hours in a terminal with nothing open. I literally spent like 4 hours there, even though officially you're only supposed to stay for 2 hours, but they had no problem in allowing me to stay extra considering the circumstances. So full marks to the Plaza Premium. Anyway, boarding is finally called at roughly about the original time of the estimated flight delay, being 10:10 a.m. Anyway, here's our aircraft taking us up to Bangkok this morning. It's a neat little Airbus A320. Nice little livery, this one here with Thai Smile. It's approximately 8.2 years old, delivered straight off the production line in Toulouse, France to Thai Smile back in October 2015. Registration number on this one is Hotel Sierra Tango X-Ray Tango. Anyway, after spending over 5 hours at Penang Airport this morning, boarding is finally called. Looking like it's going to be a fairly quiet flight this morning, so hopefully that will make up for the delayed start. Anyway, there's a Boeing 737 MAX 8 of Singapore Airlines over there. Definitely a flight I'd like to try, perhaps between Darwin or Cairns and Singapore one day. Anyway, welcome on board the Thai Smile Airbus A320 aircraft. Definitely looking pretty quiet flight this morning, so that's a great start to the flight. With Thai Smile, you'll find it's an all economy class layout in terms of seating in a stock standard free configuration. They do, however, operate multiple different layout configurations of their A320 aircraft. A little bit confusing exactly how many seats on this one, but according to their website, could either be 168 or 174. Apologies, I'm not exactly sure 100%. Doesn't appear that there is Thai Smile Plus seating on this aircraft. That is essentially just a little bit of extra leg room seating with some other benefits and perks attached to the seat as well, so kind of like a premium economy or a Euro business class sort of seat that's available on some Thai Smile flights. In terms of the seating itself with Thai Smile, it's more than acceptable, nothing mind-blowing, but yeah, it's perfectly comfortable nonetheless. Maroony sort of coloured seating. It is a material covered seating, so yeah, it's pretty comfortable. Fairly stock standard tray table, does the job, and yeah, do appreciate that plastic cubby for the in-flight literature. Unfortunately, I can't give an exact seat pitch for my seat today on Thai Smile. Seat Guru give a very vague range of 28 to 31 inches for seat pitch with Thai Smile. All I can say is that it felt fairly standard, the seat pitch. Nothing mind-blowingly great, but wasn't overly cramped either. So yeah, it was more than fine, I think, for a short flight. Seat width comes in at 18 inches. And just like that, without further ado, we are now taxiing to the runway. So what better time now to just sit back, relax and enjoy some stunning views as we take off out of Georgetown this morning. And once in the air, I'll then offer my thoughts and assessments on today's in-flight service. Now that we're firmly in the air after a very impressive takeoff out over Georgetown and out of Penang, we're now cruising over the southern provinces of Thailand, and we are very quick flight up to Bangkok, just over an hour flight time today. We better get our tray table unfolded and prepare for the in-flight meal service. So impressively, Thai Smile do a hot meal service on international flights, even for such a short flight like today. So yeah, once the seatbelt sign comes off, the crew spring into action. The very friendly crew on this flight, I must admit, today. And today's meal option, I select the chicken option, which came with mashed potatoes, an orange juice box, and also a side of fruit. While the meal itself probably didn't win any awards for presentation, I did find it a pretty decent and tasty meal overall. Only pity with Thai Smile was I thought the serving portion was incredibly small. Along with the meal service, you also do get a complimentary bottle of water, and then shortly after, the crew also come out to distribute tea and coffee, so that's a nice touch. Just going back to the hot meal itself, it was an incredibly small serving portion I found. I really enjoyed the meal, but it was just such a shame how tiny the serving portion was. I understand many airlines you'll be lucky just to get a light snack or a cold option if you're flying on such a short flight. You're certainly not going to get much on Qantas these days on such a short flight. But yeah, if you are going to go the effort of doing a hot meal service, you may as well just give a full regular economy class size serving. That's just my opinion, but yeah, it was a really tasty meal, just a shame it was such a tiny portion. In terms of entertainment on Thai Smile, there is no in-flight entertainment options apart from the in-flight magazine. Wasn't really expecting IFE, and it's certainly no big deal for me on such a short flight. Don't really expect regionally configured airlines to have it, but it's up to you. to decide whether you think a full service airline should have higher fee. But yeah, really great views out there. That's definitely my entertainment on today's flight. Unlike some of the larger Thai Airways International planes, which do have SkyConnect Wi-Fi service that you can pay for, there's no Wi-Fi available on the Airbus A320 for Thai Smile. Certainly no big deal for me, being such a short flight. But yeah, if you really do need entertainment, maybe just load up your own device with some movies or documentaries. Complimentary soft drinks are available on a Thai Smile. If you're flying internationally like today, you also get complimentary alcoholic beverages. Though on today's flight, they weren't overtly doing a dedicated drink services, so you very much had to ask, and they were more than happy to deliver. I asked for a couple of Chang beers to kickstart my Thailand leg of this trip, and they were more than happy to oblige. Very, very quick to return. So it looks like for Thai Smile, Chang Classic is the go-to beer out of the big three for the airline, the other two being Singer and Leo. All very drinkable beers here in Thailand. Probably the Singer's a little bit more refined in my opinion, but they're all quite enjoyable. Very suitable beer for the Thailand climate. And just like that, we're starting our descent into Bangkok. We've just about completed our journey out over the Gulf of Thailand today. We're just about crossing the coastline again, just to the west of Pattaya. And in short, it's been a really great flight with Thai Smile today. Once I've got on board, really friendly crew, really good catering, and yeah, just a really pleasant all-round flight. But yeah, I'll reserve my full judgment and AussieJetSetter score until we get on the ground here in Bangkok. So what better time now just to sit back, relax and enjoy our stunning landing into Bangkok Suvarnabhumi International Airport today. just like that, we're on the ground here at Bangkok Suvarnabhumi International Airport. Been well over 10 years since I've last been here, but very much looks like exactly how I remembered. A very impressive looking airport indeed. And yeah, before I get to my AussieJetSetter score index for this flight, In handing down my overall thoughts and assessments of this flight, it was a very mixed experience today. The flight itself was a very pleasant and enjoyable one. Really hard to find too many faults with it. However, the ground handling experience back in Penang really let it down. So at the end of the day, this particular flight cost 440 Malaysian ringgit, which I certainly don't think is unreasonable in my opinion, but it was still over half the price of Thai Airway's basic fare. To Thai Smile's credit, you do get a lot of inclusions that often many airlines, including full service regional airlines, have gone away with these days. You still do get a complimentary baggage allowance, which is a generous 20 kilos for domestic, or if you're flying internationally today, it's 30 kilos. So that's a great generous inclusion. What I also do like is that they still have complimentary seat selection as well. Many airlines are charging you that these days, even full service. So well done to Thai Smile on that one. Now going back to my main annoyance from this flight, which stems to the check-in process where there was very poor communication as to the reasoning behind the delay. It turns out that the reason for the delay was that the incoming aircraft that arrived the night before had to make a diversion to Hua Hin due to supposedly heavy weather conditions in Penang. I didn't really notice that much of extreme weather the night before, but there must have been some sort of weather on the way that meant the plane had to divert. So that's fair enough, and yeah, the pilot on the plane explained the situation perfectly well. Apparently because of the late arrival, when they finally did get to Penang, obviously they needed more minimum rest period. That's why the departure back to Bangkok had to be delayed. Made absolutely perfect sense, and I'm all for following the safety and regulations and all that guidelines. So yeah, absolutely wasn't bothered by the reasoning for the delay whatsoever. What annoyed me was the fact that they knew about this delay the night before, and a simple text message or email the night before that the flight has been retimed to 10 o'clock as opposed to 8 o'clock. Everyone could have come to the airport a bit later, and yeah, it would have been perfectly fine. And then to make matters worse, the check-in not being open when I arrived, even though it was within the advertised check-in window, and also the lack of staff around and the lack of overall knowledge of what the hell was happening amongst the ground crew was a bit disappointing in my opinion. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It was a regulatory delay of about 2 hours. For me, it wasn't a real big deal. I wasn't actually that keen on getting to the airport so early on a Sunday morning anyway, so leaving 2 hours later would have perfectly suited me. But yeah, it's just how airlines deal with the situation. They should have just let people know the night before and it would have been all good. And that's all they had to do, but instead you would have had passengers arriving at the airport 5 hours before. And for people who couldn't access the Plaza Premium Lounge like myself today, they would have been stranded in an airport with very little to do and not much to open. So it would have not been very fun for those passengers, I would imagine. Topping off this communication incompetency, I finally do get an email from Thai Smile urgently seeking my attention, letting me know that the flight had been retimed, but this was only once I had already boarded the aircraft, so that literally was of no help to anyone whatsoever. Anyway, immigration is surprisingly very smooth here in Bangkok this morning. A lot quicker to get through immigration here in Bangkok than it was back at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Definitely a lot more efficient airport in my opinion here at Suvarnabhumi. Without further ado, let's get to the AussieJetSetter score index for this flight, as there's certainly a lot to say about this very varied and mixed experience with Thai Smile today. So first things first, let's get straight over to ground handling. Don't need to say much more about the experience today, as it was very poor in the ground handling department. I will give them a few redeeming points as my bags arrived on time, so at least they got to my destination. But yeah, apart from that, it was a very disappointing experience in this regard with Thai Smile. What was very much supposed to be a delay out of their control, a delay I wouldn't actually blame them for, because it was out of their control. All I had to do was manage this delay and keep their customers properly informed. It would have been no big a deal. But the lack of communication and the lack of real staff at check-in, really they kicked a home goal with this. So I'm only going to give them 3 out of 10. Next up, we've got crew and in-flight service, and this is where Thai Smile very much starts to redeem itself once I get on board today. The crew were very friendly and hospitable. Certainly would have helped having quite a low passenger volume on today's flight. And yeah, the in-flight meal was really tasty. Appreciate a hot meal on such a short flight. Maybe it's just a nitpicking and a bit indulgent, but a bigger serving portion would have been nice nonetheless. But yeah, all in all, really good, solid experience once on board with the crew and the service. So I'll give them 8 out of 10 in this regard. Next up, we've got the aircraft and seat condition. Fairly stock standard Airbus A320 on this one. Certainly did the job. It's fairly comfortable, seemed fairly well maintained, but apart from that, nothing else really much to report, so I'll give them a respectable 7 out of 10. Next up, we've got entertainment, and on Thai Smile there is no entertainment, so really hard to give them a great rating on this. However, objectively I didn't really expect in-flight entertainment for such a short flight, so I was more than happy to arrange my own entertainment. But yeah, maybe being a full service airline, you would have slightly higher expectations for entertainment nonetheless. So in consideration of these factors, I'll give them a 6 out of 10. Last but certainly not least, we've got value for money. Now at the end of the day, this flight costs about 140 Australian dollars, booked fairly last minute, and for a 1.5 hour international flight on a full service carrier with a complimentary 30 kilo luggage allowance and also complimentary seat selection, that's really hard to complain about in anyone's books by my opinion. However, at the end of the day, Thai AirAsia was at least half the price, and at the end of the day you could also with Thai AirAsia get all the optional extras, meals, maybe even an exit row seat, and it would probably still be cheaper than Thai Smile. So yeah, you very much are paying for the name brand flying Thai Airways. So at the end of the day, looking at it that way, the value is a little bit more marginal. But overall, I was pretty happy for the price I paid once I got on the flight. So I'll give them a respectable 7 out of 10 for value for money. So all in all, in handing down my final AussieJetSetter score index for this flight, comes in at 31 out of 50, which equates to 62 out of 100. So yeah, not the greatest score for Thai Smile today, barely a pass from me. However, what was a really good experience in terms of the flight itself was really just a letdown with the ground handling and the pre-flight experience. So if it wasn't for that, it would have rated much higher indeed. But there you go folks, that was my experience with Thai Smile on my recent flight up to Bangkok. Very much a mixed experience today. If you have enjoyed this flight review today, really appreciate to give it a like and get involved in the comments below, leaving your thoughts and feedback. And if you have any experiences yourself flying Thai Smile, would be really keen to know how they went yourself. Anyway, if you do enjoy my videos and the content on my channel, really appreciate if you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button and that bell button so you won't miss out on the next one. Do give it a share. I around your family and friends as well. Really help push some traffic to the channel would be much appreciated. In the meantime, don't forget to visit my website AussieJetSetter.com.au for easy navigation to all of my flight reviews. Also visit my Instagram account as well, and also my AussieJetSetter short channel as well for more ways to see my short form content. Anyway, until the next one, thank you very much for watching today's flight review, and safe travels wherever that might take you.